I, 50 female, was married to a good man. I was his second wife. He had a son, 22 male. We will call him Mark, from his first marriage. Together we had a son, Chuck, 16 male, who was special needs. My husband passed 10 years ago. My husband had a life insurance policy for Mark for $500K as part of his divorce. I talked him into getting a policy for Chuck too. He got a $250K policy for him. But with Chuck's diagnosis and wanting to save for college for Mark, I asked my husband to also start individual savings for both boys. Before he passed, I looked at the accounts and he fessed up to giving Mark the savings over the years. Expensive clothes, phones, trips with friends to Disney, walking around money for a kid. My husband never told him no. Whatever my stepson wanted, he got. So Chuck had $25K saved, and Mark's account only had $800. I was livid and stopped giving my husband money. Instead, I kept putting money away in my own savings for the boys. My husband said he just felt guilty his son was the child of divorce and wanted him to have a happy life. After my husband died, Mark got his life insurance policy, but his mother blew through the $500K before he was 16. I used the $250K money and bought an investment property. It's worth a lot more now, and Chuck has a healthy savings from it as well as I reinvest profits into a trust for Chuck. It's about $630K total value. I had $6K set aside for Mark that I saved on my own. I gave it to him when he turned 18. He bought a car with it. My stepson recently found out his brother has money. He lost another job, so he's been staying with a girlfriend because he doesn't get along with his mother's boyfriend. The girl's parents are evicting them. I offered to let them live with me for a bit if he contributed to the bills by getting a job and keeping it. Then he could save for a place of his own. He refused that help. Instead, he wanted to live in his brother's rental property for what sounded like free. I said absolutely not. We have reliable tenants. I'm not going to evict them so he has a place to stay. He said no, he meant give him the property, because he says it was purchased using his dad's money, and I had no right to be keeping him from what should be his. And if I didn't give him the house, I needed to give him the value of the house out of the money invested. He threatened to sue me. I was stunned. I said absolutely not. He should be asking his mother for his money, not me, not his brother. He called his father's sisters and said he's struggling and going to be homeless, and his girlfriend just found out she's pregnant. That's why her parents are kicking them out. I guess they weren't expecting her to get pregnant from that living arrangement. He needs the money, and I'm being a greedy, evil stepmother according to him. They called me an a-hole and heartless. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Mark needs to sue his mother. That money was for him, not her. He shouldn't expect a handout from you now. He got his money. It's not your fault his mom misused it. This is your son's money. Mark has no right to it, not the a-hole. If I'm understanding all of this correctly, then you are absolutely not the a-hole. The idea that you should just give him property because it was purchased with his dad's money is fundamentally flawed for two reasons. One, it wasn't bought with savings. It was purchased with a life insurance policy that was left in someone else's name. And two, it was purchased for a child who was also his father's. It really sucks that his mother blew through his insurance money, but that shouldn't have been able to happen so easily. The court should have appointed a neutral custodian to oversee and distribute the funds in his best interest before he turned 18. If his inheritance was squandered by someone else, then there should be legal repercussions for it. Not the a-hole. Tell everyone, including Mark, to talk to Mark's mom if they have a problem with the way Mark's inheritance was spent. To start, I'll talk about my brother and what he did. He was a real estate agent. I don't know about all of you, but around here, they cold call people asking if they are looking to sell their house. There was an old man who he and his agency had called. The man's family had a lawyer reach out to say the man was in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's disease to my brother's agency and a few others around here because of the calls. Even though my brother knew, he kept engaging with the man. He convinced him to sign papers to sell the house anyways, and there was other stuff too. Fraud, forgery, identity theft, and regular theft beyond the sale of the house. My brother got caught because there was a power of attorney for the man, and it all unraveled because he couldn't actually consent to the sale. My brother was arrested, convicted, and is going to be in prison for a long time now. I come into this because my dad's aunt never got married or had kids. In her will, she had 2 properties, and she left them to us. One is owned by me and my parents, and one by my brother and my parents. My brother lived in his place alone, and when he got arrested, he and my parents sold it to help pay for legal bills because of all the criminal, real estate, and civil lawsuit problems he had. I live in my property with my parents. When my dad's aunt died, I wasn't an adult yet, but my brother already was. I am 100% aware of how lucky I am, especially because the mortgage on it was already paid off. Now that my brother has been convicted and every consult him and my parents have done say an appeal will fail, my parents want me to agree to sell this property so that we can move closer to the prison my brother is in, and so we have money for him to use to buy stuff from the prison shop while he is in there. I don't want to sell it, because the price of homes where my parents are moving means you would not be able to buy a property outright. Also, I don't want to move. I have lived here my entire life and all my friends are here, and so is my job. If I sold, I would have to find a place to rent. If I don't agree to sell, they can't sell without me. They could sell their stake to me, which I'm willing to do. I spoke with the bank about it and would qualify for a loan to buy them out. But my parents don't like this because it means less money for them, and only fair market value. It's led to fighting because my parents accuse me of not being a supportive sister to my brother. If they don't move to visit him, they would have to stay in a hotel overnight because of the distance. They have also delayed their own retirements by years and want to start over with a mortgage or to rent because of the move. If I didn't agree to sell, would it make me an a-hole? I love my brother, but I don't like what he did, and I think he belongs in prison. I just don't want to screw myself over because I know I am so lucky to have this property. Not the a-hole. Do not sell. Your brother made the mistake, so why should you have to suffer? If your parents want to move closer to his prison, good for them. Doesn't mean you have to completely change your life because he was a crook. Not the a-hole. If you legally don't have to sell it, you shouldn't be forced to. Like, that's literally why your brother is in prison. Not the a-hole. Your parents aren't acting with your best interest in mind, only what they want and your brother. The smart move is to buy them out, have the house for yourself, and they can figure out the rest on their own. You cannot be responsible for their or your brother's irresponsibility. They already sold one house, likely hundreds of thousands of dollars. Take care of yourself. Where possible, visit your brother and offer him moral support. Don't jeopardize your future for his crimes. My 31 male cousin, 28 male, is expecting his first child with his wife in December. My cousin and I were very close growing up, but 10 years ago I got a job out of state and we lost touch. I moved back last year, but we still don't see each other much. However, I've noticed he's changed a lot. They hosted their baby shower at an outdoor venue. I have a 6-month-old with sensitive skin, so we let them know we would go for a short while. My cousin's response was to just send wife home with baby and stay and party with them. Most of the men were drinking, while moms were looking after the kids or participating in the shower's games and activities. My cousin's best friend got so drunk, he broke the playground slide, and my cousin just laughed it off. His wife was visibly disappointed. After he made that comment, I let him know that we didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I'll be going home with them to look over baby while wife rests. He laughed and walked away, calling me a wuss. At some point, they did the dirty diaper activity. For those that may not be familiar, diapers are smeared with melted chocolate and put on baby dolls. The winner changes the most diapers with a certain time frame. I won and was given the full of crap trophy and the other rewards. I walked over to my cousin and joked that at the next shower, I would likely be passing on the trophy to him. He laughed and said it was highly unlikely, as he won't be changing diapers. I, thinking we were joking, laughed it off, but after some back and forth, I realized he was serious. He actually told his wife that he would not be changing diapers or getting up at night as he works and she doesn't. Then proceeded to call me the witch of my marriage since I have to go home to babysit while wife sleeps. I said I'm a dad, not a babysitter, and walked away. Since we had a longish drive back home, my wife asked if I would change baby's diaper while she says goodbye. My cousin joked again about my wife ordering me around, doing her job for her, and having no backbone. I politely let him know that our son is not a job and it is both my wife and I's responsibility to take care of him. I said I don't see parenting duties as a burden, as I love my son and enjoy spending time with him. I said I felt bad for his wife for having a crappy partner, and his unborn child for having a half-hearted dad. I then asked if he is the kind of partner he'd want his unborn daughter to have, and if he's sure that's the example he wants to set. I didn't raise my voice, but a lot of guests noticed, which was not my intention. He just pushed me over the edge. I did get crap from my aunt for embarrassing him at his party. My mom said that even though I'm right, some things are better left unsaid and I should let him and his wife work out their own issues. My wife agrees, but says maybe I should have waited to when others weren't around to talk to him. I feel bad for his wife and for ruining her shower, but I don't think I was in the wrong. Not the a-hole. If he can act like a misogynistic bore in public, you can comment on that fact in public. Not the a-hole for sure, but you probably should reach out to the mother-to-be. If you, even unintentionally, upset her during her celebration, it's a good idea to apologize, not to the husband for what you said, but to her for accidentally causing a scene. Not the a-hole. He embarrassed himself. I feel so bad for his wife and upcoming daughter. Hopefully she heard what you said and realizes it is not normal for her husband to provide zero support and never change a diaper. I have 3 children. When my oldest got married, my husband and I paid for the down payment on his house. When my daughter got married, we were going to do the same, but they chose to live in one of her father-in-law's rental properties, so my husband and I paid for all of the furniture. I always assumed that when my youngest son got married, we would do something similar. My youngest married a woman I have issues with. I was actually fine with her for a while, but once she asked me if I wanted grandchildren, I said I didn't have particularly strong feelings. She began to cry and told me that her mom puts a lot of pressure on her to have kids, and she doesn't think she wants them. But she comes from a traditional family, and her mom has called her broken and said she needs mental help. This struck a chord with me because I wish someone told me that I didn't have to have children. I told her that she absolutely is not broken, and she shouldn't have kids if she doesn't want them. I confess that I regretted having kids. I resent that no one made it clear to me that I shouldn't have them if I wasn't enthusiastic, and that being a mother had been very draining and unfulfilling, and my husband and I struggled emotionally with how much we didn't want to be parents. That witch went home and told my son everything I said, and he told his siblings. She said he had the right to know that I didn't love him, which isn't what I said at all. Then she implied I was stupid for having kids I didn't want, but she was considering doing the same, so she can't be that smart either. This caused a lot of family drama, and I told her that I'll never forgive her and I'll never view her as family. They got married last year, and I bought them a $50 gift off of the registry. My son still brings it up on occasion, but I feel like I don't owe them a house when she betrayed me like that. Edit. No one is going to change my mind that this woman did something horrible, but I am going to buy my son a car so he doesn't have to be punished for what she did. So, first kid gets a house down payment, presumably something in the mid-5 figures. Second kid gets furniture, I'm assuming worth around $10K. Third kid gets $50? I don't think they needed her to tell them that you're an unenthusiastic parent that regrets ever having kids. Yes, the a-hole. Spot on. But I think the appropriate call here is everyone sucks here. Because OP told daughter-in-law something in extreme confidence when both parties were sharing a moment of emotional vulnerability. Daughter-in-law deliberately backstabbed OP. Edit. Daughter-in-law does have obligations to spouse over mother-in-law. Loyalty doesn't equal lying to spouse and saying your mom doesn't love you. Yes, the a-hole. Sorry, but telling your future daughter-in-law you regretted having children, including her future husband, is a pretty big bombshell to drop. You could have found a way to be supportive of her without saying you and your husband wish your kids never existed. That's something to share with your therapist, maybe your friends, but it's pretty devastating information to just put out there. And you don't put much thought into the fact that your future daughter-in-law had one of 2 awful options. Tell her husband, which will devastate your husband and anger you, or keep a massive secret from her husband for the rest of her life. You punished her for option 1, and that makes you an a-hole. Maybe she didn't put it delicately to your son. I assume you weren't there and just heard about it secondhand. But at least she was kind of on your side since she agrees with you. But there's no good way to let someone know your mother didn't want you from the moment you existed.